Hello, everybody. It's 12:50 p.m. Central Time, 14th of April, 2026, Tuesday here in the States. Hope you're doing well. Just getting on here really quick to let you guys know a significant earthquake, two actually significant earthquakes, struck in the last 24 hours in the United States, topping out at a 5.7 out here in western Nevada, right at the California border, right next to a series of ancient volcanoes. They've since brought the earthquake down to 5.6. But then today, on the east edge of the craton, over on the east coast, or southeast Canada, a rare 4.0 earthquake struck. So that's two somewhat rare earthquakes striking in the last 24 hours, first on the west coast, then on the east coast. And look what connected between them, a series of earthquake swarms taking place at multiple drill points and ancient volcanic sites. Mainly drill points everywhere east by southeast of Utah. So that means everything down in Texas and New Mexico, also Oklahoma. All of these down here are next to drill points. As we go over to the west, we go from drill points for oil and gas to Utah's swarm, which is next to a geothermal drill point. And we go up to the north, we have a 3.4 at the Idaho-Wyoming border. That's next to Sulphur Peak and a bunch of other surface mining. Then we're also at Yellowstone directly with a swarm that broke out since last night. This is somewhat of a change from where we were, which is a series of small earthquakes, but there's hundreds of tremors per day that happen at Yellowstone. They even get a magnitude assigned to them. But these are earthquakes showing up on the feed, which is different than actual tremors. So the significance of this, a 5.7 down on the west coast, or over on the west coast, a 4.0 on the east coast, swarming in between, including at Yellowstone. Volcanoes, drill points, all are starting to move in the last day. So what's going on? Well, it looks like the plate's shifting. If you don't know about the plate and the edge of the craton, we could go into hours of lecturing on the edge of the craton, but just simply put, you see where the red arrows are here. If you're a new viewer, this is the edge of the North American craton where the arrows are. And we expect a flow to go from the west over to the east and drop off earthquakes along the way as the wave spreads. So I'm not shocked to see a 4 on the east coast after a near 6 on the west coast in the same day. This has happened before. Colorado got a 5.9 earthquake that struck southern Colorado at the drill points. This is back in 2011. 12 hours later, a 5.9 earthquake, same size, struck over here in Virginia next to the Lake Anna nuclear power plant at Mineral, Virginia. That was in 2011, same day, same 12 hours. So first Colorado, then Virginia back in 2011. And then last night, 5.7 over here in Nevada, and now a 4.0 earthquake over on the East Coast. Sometimes they're the same sized earthquakes, other times they're a little bit smaller. Let me get a display capture turned on so you can see what I see just a little bit better. There we go. Now you should be able to see at least what I see. Full screen. So big earthquake on the west coast, big earthquake on the east coast, swarming in between at the drill points. The edge of the plate is shifting. Let's go look up the 5.6, striking at Silver Springs, Nevada. And we'll zoom in on a series of ancient volcanoes. But a picture speaks 1,000 words, so let's go look it up. And on to the west coast we go. I consider this the west coast, even though it's not really the coast. Okay, there we go. So I mentioned the volcanic fields here. We have several, including the famous Soda Lakes. You can see the Smithsonian place mark on this. If you want to read more on that, you can pause it. Ancient volcanic field there. On the side of it, Red Mountain and Churchill Butte. And then there's others that are not even named out here. Well, I mean, maybe there are names on it, but we just don't have them on here. But further to the southeast, we have Basalt Peak and Pilot Cone. They're a little bit more famous. Pilot Cone is. Okay, anyway, there we go. So we're on the edge of an ancient volcanic field. That's what's at the location. Also some ancient mining. When I say ancient, this goes back to Native Americans were mining there. But let's go over on the east coast at Shawville, Canada, which is next to Ottawa, which I would just consider southeast Canada. So we're going all the way across the plate thousands of miles away on the edge of the craton within the same day as this seismic wave is going between Nevada and Canada in the same day. Think of a giant low-frequency wave bouncing around on the edge of the plate, and that's pretty much what's going on here. So 4 on the East Coast as the East Coast starts to move. Drill Point Stratigraphic Drill Test Site from 1992 just so happens to be right next to the location. Isn't that very interesting? I forgot I had that place mark on there. The things that come in handy. So we're next to a drill point for a stratigraphic test drill site right there at the border. Take a look where we are. Again, we're in southeast Canada, but we're between Ontario and Quebec. The Algonquin Provincial Park, we're on the edge of that. Now, if you look real close, or you might not even have to look very close at all, let me turn off all the gobbledygook, all the places, all the everything. And there's a somewhat oval-like shape here that's similar to one of the Great Lakes. It's a basin. And you see all the lakes in here, but this actually rises. At the center of the basin, it rises. So it's actually a bulge at the center of this. Now, there's other structures like this that go up to the northeast, up this way. You'll see another one right here. These are bulges in the craton that are in the middle of the plate. And over here, over on the west side, too, we go up this way, and we have more of them. Here's one right here. This is in Canada now. And they're huge, right? You see how they make up huge blocks of the plate itself. Some of these actually are warmer than the rest of the plate. Like once you get down here into the U.S., right here at the U.S. border, let me just show you this one. Right here, this, even though it's a depression, you see how this is a depression? You see the shape of it, though. This stays warmer than the areas around it, and you'll see snowfall fall all the way around this thing and across it, but then the snowfall melts off in here very quickly. And even in like on a NOAA satellite flyover for the weather, you'll see that area in the subarctic freezing cold temperatures, but yet it itself doesn't have any snow on it while the area around it does. And there's a reason that these are shaped like this. Again, the folds and bends in the plate, they extend all throughout the edge of the plate. But I'm kind of digressing, but we're on the east edge of the craton, and so just like in the middle of the craton, in the middle of the plate, there are folds and bends. Earthquakes along the edge of the craton means the craton shifting. Now we go all the way back to the start of the week, well, at the end of last week, and we had 4.0 level activity, mid-range 4, striking on the coaxial seamount, or the Cobb segment, which is north of the axial seamount, which the professional said was going to erupt this year. It hasn't erupted yet, as far as I know, but... So, what do we go look up? I mean, we already looked up the volcanoes. We just looked up the 2 edges of the craton earthquakes that are significant. The swarms are what stand out to me. So, really, what I would do is just go into each swarm, grab an earthquake, look it up just to make sure that there's something there worth mentioning. So, a swarm in Oklahoma, 9 times out of 10, or 9.9 times out of 10, we're getting in next to a drill point where humans have drilled in a few thousand feet to extract oil or gas. But let's just verify that. Okay, yeah, look, I mean, we're right at a actual pipeline substation. Sorry, my microphone's falling here. Hold on. This thing keeps creaking. Okay, there we go. Next to it, a bunch of drill points. You see the tanks, the pumps, the jacks, and the pipelines. Those all connect to each other, and they then connect and take the oil and gas out of the location. So every one of these rectangular-shaped pads is a different drill point, and there's now over 1 million drill points in Oklahoma. 10, 15 years ago, it was 500,000, and they have since majorly expanded, especially in light of what's going on internationally with the oil and gas markets, that oil and gas is in high demand, high cost, and when you get that, you start seeing a whole bunch of stuff like this, which is all these little specks on the ground start popping up as people sell off access to drill for oil and gas. Farming oil and gas, if you want to think of it like that. I'm not against it at all, actually. I mean, if you live in the area, you got oil and gas on your property, I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to sell access to make a good amount of money and get that out of there. Let's go down into Texas. North Pearsall, Texas. Well, Texas is known for its oil and gas. This goes back to even to the 1980s. You think of JR and Dallas, Texas, and their oil tycoons. So let's go take a look and see what we got going on down here in Texas. Well, a whole bunch of pipelines going through. Oh, wow. We got a lot of pipelines going through this area. But what else other than pipelines? Well, you start to zoom in and you're going to find a whole bunch of what I just showed you up in Oklahoma, and it's spread out across a vast area. And when I say a lot, I mean there really is a vast area of drill points. All of these are just like Oklahoma. We're talking about fracking mainly, wastewater disposal, where they'll inject this water into the ground, then extract oil and gas from the fractured shale. So you get the picture of how big the pumping operations are here, and they go down to the south, all the way around it. Every one of those little white specks on the ground is a different drill point. Okay, you get the picture on that. Over to the west, it's the same thing, but let's go up into New Mexico with the biggest earthquake of the bunch, which is a 3.3 at Atoka, A-T-O-K-A is how it's spelled, New Mexico. Go see what's there. So if you're just now tuning in, we have significant earthquake activity that's been taking place, 5.7 to near 6.0 earthquake over on the west coast next to a volcano, 4.0 earthquake in southeast Canada next to a fold in the bend in the edge of the craton, and then connecting between them, all of our drill points are getting hit. So here's our swarm in New Mexico. There's a body of water right here called the Brantley Lake, and then next to it, old man needs his glasses. I actually had to squint to look at that. Yeah, I'm getting old. So there we go, right? Yeah, in case you don't know, I'll be 50 in September. Old man Dutch now, officially. Drill point after drill point after drill point after drill point. There we go. The reason is there's a seismic wave down in the plate, and it's seeking out weak points in the plate, whether they're made by Mother Nature or made by man. The wave doesn't apparently care. It tries to find a weak point in the plate and break at those spots. So if we start drilling at a point, we can get an earthquake striking there as the wave passes through, or if Mother Nature has previously punched up with a magma chamber at a volcano. Same thing. So again, I'm not blaming the oil pipe. Actually, it may even be better. I'm not like taking their side or anything. But if the earthquakes didn't strike here at these drill points, they may have gone further. Well, not just may have. It's my supposition that a long time ago, before humans were here drilling, that the seismic wave would still come down along the edge of the craton, and at the fold here, it would strike and break at this weak point in the plate here. You see what this is, right? It's a giant volcanic field on the Texas side of the border, no less. And then going across down into Mexico, there's more. I don't even talk about this. I don't even know what the name of this volcanic field is. There's no place mark for it from any of the Smithsonian place marks, even though it's a huge volcanic field. All right, but you get the picture for how big it is, and that's huge. That's in Texas. So I think the seismic wave previously came down and would strike here, but now that we've drilled, it's seeking out the drill points that are numerous and across a vast area in the plate. And then it goes over to the east, as it normally would, across the New Madrid seismic zone and up the east coast. Over into Utah, big swarm here. And I mentioned it's next to a geothermal pumping operation. So they're generating electricity at this location. And also, it's a volcano, or an ancient series of volcanoes. Let me show it to you. So the reason the swarm is striking here, as opposed to just on a fault somewhere else, look, we have drill points where we're injecting water, and the waters are then being used to produce steam, and the steam is then being used to produce power from the geothermal turbines that are here. Then the volcanic fields are where the steam's coming from, or where the heat is coming from. And there's surface fissure fractures that happened here in the past a long time ago, putting out lava flows at the surface that are ancient, but still there, visible. Then we're also doing power generation with solar to top it all off. We've got a boatload of solar generation going on out here. You add the components together, very low frequency from electricity, human drill points, Mother Nature punch points from down below, and a seismic wave that's electrical in nature passing through the area. And it precipitates at those locations. A lone 1.3 and then a small microswarm. Small microswarm is down next to the Markagunt Plateau, which is a volcanic plateau. And the 1.3, the lone 1.3 up here at Carbon Utah, Kenilworth, as it's triangulated from. But Carbon, Utah, also Helper, Utah, you might know it as. Carbon or Helper, but either way, we're going in next to one of the biggest pumping operations out west. Starting here, I mean. This is where the pumping operation starts. So right here, more oil and gas drill points, just like what I was showing you down in Texas and Oklahoma, only this time we're out in Utah, right? And I said it was one of the biggest out west. Starting there, going across the mountains over into this valley, and all the way across this valley, this whole thing is drilled. So much you couldn't even believe it. So let me just zoom in and show it to you. See, this looks like a grid on the ground of all these little spots. Every little spot is a spot where they drilled, and they have an oil well, oil or gas. But I'll back it out so you can kind of get a picture. So it really is just crazy. And then once you get down here, it doesn't look like a grid. They've done every single hilltop in haphazard fashion, so it's a little harder to see from this altitude. Right here, it just kind of looks like sand dunes, doesn't it? But you zoom in and you see every sand dune top is connected with a drill point, or a power line through there in that case. So all of this is drilled. And we keep going this way. You see them? Every little pad on the ground there. Kind of look like little ant mounds on the ground, don't they? So I'm not dogging on them or anything, but when you drill... Oh, and then we go across the river, over through the farm fields, through the river basin. We go on both sides of the river, right up to it. You see? Nothing go wrong there. This whole thing back down to where the earthquake is, right here. Oh, and like I said, we go through the mountains themselves. So it doesn't stop at the mountains and pick up on the other side. It goes through the mountains and comes out through the mountain peaks out to the other side. I'm not laughing at it, but I'm just laughing at the absurdity of how much it is. Okay, that's where the 1.3 is. So recapping Utah. Geothermal drill points where we're injecting water to produce electricity. Also solar is there. Up to the north, drill points. And down to the south, I said it was the Markagunt Plateau, didn't I? Canaraville. Never mind. Potato. Let's carry on. I'm Dutch since I don't pronounce anything proper. Let me get a sip of my coffee while you ponder that. It's part of the job. Say it wrong. Get under everybody's skin who lives there. Hey, look, we got an ancient basalt flow that's right here. See where it says Prior Knoll? Let's zoom in on that. Oh, it's not even marked. Okay. So, the volcanic field. So, here's the Markagunt Plateau, the actual volcanic lava flows. These are all lava flows, and there's old spatter cone there, and it's surrounded by a younger lava flow. And all of these, oh, look at this. They got a snowy picture of it. That's right, I forgot about this. Good old Biden era, we fly over in the snow and get a picture of the volcano so you can't see anything, right? Seriously. This is the most recent flyover done 2 years ago. The whole government was screwed. Let's go back here to 2019. There we go. So you can see the lava flows through there. You can see the old volcanoes. Blue Springs Knoll, Miller Knoll. These are old spatter cones. And this whole thing is part of a lava field that goes over to the west. Here's our earthquake right here on the edge of it. Of the actual, let's see, Black Mountain is the nearest spatter cone. That's, again, calling this a volcano. I don't think this would ever erupt again, personally. I think that over to the east, this would erupt. But over to the west, it's so ancient. But there it is. It's on the edge of an ancient volcanic field. So, I mean, what I'm proving here is that each point that's getting hit is getting hit for a good reason. It's not just randomly striking there. The seismic wave is going across and finding, equidistantly spaced somewhat, our volcanoes and our drill points. Now we're going up to the Wyoming border with Idaho. 3.4, it's one of the bigger earthquakes in the past 2 days for the whole country. It should take us in next to another volcanic field and a place called Sulphur Peak. It's also next to Yellowstone, but it's going to turn off our historical imagery here. There we go, back to our most recent. Okay, so right here, earthquake. There's the state line between Idaho and Wyoming. And the volcanic field is right next to it. Soda Springs Hill cinder pits. These are being mined. Now you can see the black and the red cinders on the old butte there they're scraping away. The Conda buttes are here, and they're kind of more the same. You see they're mining those, but the old spatter cone is there. Here's Decay Butte, that's another one. But they're so old. Again, these are so old. China Hat Butte, this one doesn't even have a name on it. China Cap Butte is next to it, and then Cinder Island is out here in the middle of the lake. Now, here's Yellowstone right here as proximity, just so you can see the difference, how far we are. And let me see, do I even have, let's take a quick look here. Yellowstone, there we go. We are 600,000 feet away. I don't know what that is in miles. 129 miles. Now, due east of this, we go over this way, and this is all drilled. So all of this is drilled for oil and gas. Just like I showed you down in Texas, just like I showed you over in Oklahoma, and all the other locations that were drilled. All of these are drilled, and they're doing mainly wastewater disposal and fracking, and the whole valley on both sides going up to a pinnacle right here, right before you get to the other side of the mountain is where we start into Jackson Hole and Jackson, Wyoming, over here on this side of the mountain. But on this side, all of this is drilled. It's pretty wild, actually. Oh, 1 second here. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Again, we got all kinds of stuff going on here in the background. Okay, up here to the north, we go into Yellowstone Park itself, and I shouldn't need to tell you or show you Yellowstone Park. It's literally a 90-mile wide supervolcano, but the place Mammoth, Wyoming, we're actually next to Mammoth. So Mammoth, Wyoming, in Yellowstone Park, gets its name from the mastodon skeletons that they found there. This gets into why were there mastodon skeletons there? Seems like they may have been alive a little bit younger than when we were told. I don't know. So Mammoth Spring, though, is there. And we also are inside the park itself. Now, how close are we to Mammoth Spring itself? I don't even know if we can see it. Here's some right here. These are springs. No, that's for the road. Never mind. There we go. We have springs off to the side. You can drive all the way around, all the way up to the border here, all the way down south. It's like a 60-mile wide loop that you can go around the inside of the volcano. Over to the west we go. We get into central Idaho at the Salmon Reserve. Now this gets into what's down below the Salmon Reserve, and that's the feeder for Yellowstone. Actually comes up and goes to Yellowstone there. Comes up from below Idaho. Over on the west coast we go. Not too much to talk about over along the coast except for a bunch of zeros, ones, and twos going up into Seattle Fault. But this one, an explosion, West Richland, Washington. Want to go look it up, see what they're blowing up out there. It's the only explosion listed, aside from maybe down in Oregon, for the whole country. So I'm just curious, is there anything here nearby? Well, the only way to find out is to look it up. Let's go take a look. Again, if you don't know what's there, take a gander. In this case, we're right next to this, which is the huge Superfund site. You guys may or may not know about the Hanford Nuclear Waste Storage Facility here, but all the old reactors from the Manhattan Project and from early days of nuclear reactors here in the States, they dismantled the reactors, took all the material, put it here in storage. Then next to it here we have the LIGO Gravity Wave Sensing Station with its long lasers shooting out, reflecting back, and they look for vibrations in the lasers to see if there's gravity waves coming in from across the universe, they say. And I say they say because it's pointed at a right angle at the heaviest elements known to man on the periodic chart. I'm just wondering. And, having Gravity Hill right here next to it doesn't help anything. Gravity Hill pre-existed. In case you don't know about Gravity Hill, this is a place where supposedly the cars roll uphill. So they built the gravity wave sensing station next to it, just by chance. Yep. Sorry, we get a little weird when we start talking about that stuff. Let's go down into California and just wrap it up. So in Northern California, on the east side of the valley up here, let's go take a pull on one of these. Bernie, California. Bernie, California was burning several years ago. This is just next to the Paradise Fire location. You guys may remember the Paradise fires. People were talking about alternative sources for what caused the fires and how things melted and all that. Well, here's the earthquake epicenter, and here's Big Cave Crater right next to it. So most people don't like talking about the volcanoes in Northern California because there's so many. And when you get fires that break out next to these old volcanoes, I say it's possible that there could be a burst of heat that could induce fires, basically. So Brush Mountain Volcano is right here. Look at that. They're mining it. I bet you there's some gold up in there. They're not just doing that for lava rock for your garden, guys. Same with this one. I'm just going to take the time to do that. Unless there's gold. You get a lot of gold at these old volcanoes. Nobody talks about that. Let's go down into, if you do, you don't come back kind of thing, right? Let's go down into Northern California along the coast and just take a look. Let's pull an earthquake from the biggest of the bunch. The geysers of California, that should kind of tell you what's at the location. The name of the place is called the geysers. But when you see what's here, if you're a new viewer, we're on the edge of Mount Canocti, on the edge of Clear Lake Volcanic Field, where they've drilled in to get steam to turn the turbines again. So here's a geothermal turbine, and then you'll follow that back to where they've drilled, and they inject water at these locations to get the steam out of the ground to begin with. Some of the water they inject is actually sewage. Sewage from humans gets injected to the ground here. I know, it's crazy, but that's the California people for you. Going down into the Bay Area, the only ones I would really want to look at, maybe up here, this 2.0, 1.5, 1.8. Let's go see. Again, I just want to take a look. American Canyon, California, on the north side of San Francisco, up there north of the Bay. I don't know what's there. Let's go see. I know on the north side there are military installations for boats and submarines, but I don't know how close this is going to take us. It might be pretty far from there. Yeah, these are like water tributaries. What's going on here? The heck are they doing there? I don't know, whatever that's for. That's pretty wild. Okay, so we're pretty far away from any of the military stuff as far as I can see. Wait, hold on. What's this? A municipal airport, or do these have fighter jets? Okay, it's municipal. I gotta check. Again, we get in next to the submarine yards. If we get down here at the military stuff, it's getting a little weird. Okay, but we're far enough away, I wouldn't think that's related. Let's go down to the 1.8 at Colma. This is on the other side of the bay now. This is further south. This is more next to San Francisco than inside of it or north of it. Let's go see. Might not be anything there, but it's worth looking up. It's along the coast here. Okay, well, we have Muscle Rock Park. This gets into some of the weird stuff. I don't like talking about the weird stuff because it gets me all sidetracked and goofed up. But you guys hear the story about the pillars that were coming out of the plate here? They found these Romanesque type pillars that were coming out up here by Muscle Rock in particular. And down south further, there was another site that got found. It was like a Hilton hotel further south. I saw a large structure that was built in here, and then they tore it down on purpose. It was coming out of the plate. It was buried. So the one by the Hilton, I think they've also torn down as well. It was 2 spots, and that's one of them. Okay, wow. Well, down here by Half Moon Bay was the other, I think. Right? Pretty sure. Okay, we're not going to get sidetracked on the weird stuff. Just got to keep in mind that if you've got ancient sites and you get earthquakes next to them, you pay attention to the ancient site to see if there's any more earthquake activity next to it in the future. And if there is, there may be a tie to the ancient site for some reason. Maybe they built it there because they sensed earthquakes there, for instance. Well, I'm not saying that the site causes the earthquakes, although that's possible too. Let's go down into the south tip of the valley. How? Oh, the same way that our drill points can cause earthquakes and that our electrical stations on the surface can cause earthquakes. Very low frequency in the plate attracted to the point where we either have a perforation or an electromagnetic generation. Okay? Let's carry on further to the east by southeast. Down into the South Valley. This gets Southwest Valley. But once we get over here, all of this is drilled. Take a look at it. tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of drill points here in California, in the valley, next to the San Andreas, all the way down along it. So over here as well, look at how many there are. It's just insane. Here's the San Andreas. We go right up to the San Andreas with millions of drill points. These are all drill points. Take a look. Like I said, they look like ants on the ground. Most people don't know about this, right? You think about Texas, you don't really think about California and its proximity. All that drilling right there next to the San Andreas, right here. And the creeping section of the San Andreas goes from up here to down here. And just east of it, all of it's drilled. Millions of times, I would say, overall, down across. Once we get down into the south bend of the valley down here, the drill points bend east. And we go over east through the desert, and you see more of them here. They go through the farm fields, across the farm fields, into the desert, and then back out the other side. Over this way, same thing. Look at all these guys. I'm serious, look at all of them. And we go up this way. Look what we just did. We just went from all the way up here, all the way down, and we're going back up this way, right? Once you get up here, it's insane. Look at all the drill points here. This is next to Bakersfield. If the image will even load. And that's just one patch of it. It goes up this way, and over this way. So what did I just show you? A giant letter J shape of drill points that starts up here and goes all the way down the edge of the valley and makes a bend back up to here. And guess what the earthquakes do? They come down the creeping section. They jump off right at where the drill points start. They go down around the bend of the J of the shape down at the south tip of the valley, and they come out over here. So like a river going down and being diverted across and over this way. And guess what's over here? All of these? Why, I won't make you guess. I will show you. We come down across and go over, and what's right over here? Take a look. 1,001 volcanoes. Volcano Peak and the others, Kozo Volcanic Field and the others, and the lava flows are very impressive looking there. Up on the north side, you see the same thing. We have huge volcanic field, and they've drilled in to get steam to turn turbines out of this volcano here. So this is the Kozo Volcanic Field, and all around it, drill points. We get down to the south, and there's more volcanoes. There's more drill points. So the seismic wave that I'm talking about comes down, goes over, across, and then it tries to go this way, which then taps into the rest of the earthquakes I showed you at the start of this update. Southern California, the only ones I'm really interested in right now are in the actual LA basin. 1.3 Santa Monica and around it on the north side, but we'll start in Santa Monica and go north. So come along with me into LA. We're going to go on a voyage. We're going to go on a cruise in LA, see what we find. Don't know what we're going to turn up here next to Inglewood. Where are we? Hold on. Okay, we're northwest of there. We're north of Venice. Nothing go wrong there, right, guys? So take a look at this. More drill points for oil and gas. You're starting to see a common theme here as we're going through and looking at these spots. We're always next to drill points. Well, not always. Always is I should never use that word. We're next to a bunch of drill points all the time. Now, here on the north side, isn't there something else here nearby? I think there is. I don't know exactly. Wait, what's this? I don't know exactly where the tar pits are up here, somewhere north of LA, but could be further north. We're far enough away, I wouldn't think it's related anyways. But we're next to the drill points. It's pretty obvious. We're just a few miles away. And let's go look up to the north at the other earthquakes up here. 1.1 and a 1.9. Let's pull the 1.9. This goes to Ojai, California. And it's spelled O-J-A-I. Ojai, California. Wonderful stuff. Coordinates, paste, search. Let's see what we've got. There we go. Zooming in again. Yet once again we zoom in. But over across the valley this way, do you see this? It says oil. Let me show you. It says oil right there. We've got at least 2 jacks and a pump there with 2 tanks. Now, we have to kind of bend the image around the other way and look from the other direction to get a better view on this. All the drill points that are up here in the mountains. So look how many they have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jack pumps just on one site alone. Now, the whole north side of this mountain range has been done that way for oil and gas. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 drill points there, just to point it out. So this whole north side here, once we go across the valley this way, look where we are. We're at Carpinteria, right? Well, look where we are further to the south. La Conchita and our offshore wells. So we have our offshore platforms here to get the oil from out in the ocean. Now, the earthquake stands between the oil drill points over here and the oil drill points over here, west and east, smack in the middle. Now, there may be old exploratory points here actually at this location or nearby that I don't even know about. That also could totally be there that we don't even have access to. Also, surface mining. There are mines that can go down into the ground a few thousand feet at these locations that have been abandoned. But as far as I know, there's no mines there. And that's all we have nearby. Oil to the east, oil to the west. We're sandwiched in between the two, most likely on a fault. I say most likely because we could be easily off of a fault. Once we get down here, look what we have. Muscle Shoals, which is different than the other muscle point we were talking about earlier up north with the weird pillars coming out of the ground. But all of this is drilled, and it goes down to the ocean. Right down here. This then goes over to the east. You see where we go? All the way back down to LA, following these drill points this way, which gets crazy when you see how many there are. Okay, and you guys may remember a few years ago down here at Ventura, there was some kind of pipeline break that a whole creek filled with oil, and it was somewhere in here somewhere. They were able to sequester it or build a dam, basically, to capture it at the surface. Man, that was several years ago. Old man Dutch, I'm like talking about stuff from 2013 like it's recent. Okay, let's go down and let's wrap this up for the United States. We go on the San Jacinto Fault, past the Elsinore, and we kind of taper off once we get to the east of Salton Sea, this body of water down here. And on the east side of Salton Sea, there's not much going on. On the west side of Salton Sea, the seismic wave is going straight down into Mexico, going down here and dead-ending into the border. And these earthquakes down to the south, just like what I showed you up to the north, this 1.1 and this 1.1 and this 1.3 and this 1.5, they're all next to two things: volcano and a drill point. Let me show you. We're just going to go right down on the south side of Salton Sea, right here, to what's called the Salton Buttes. And this is from the Smithsonian. Feel free to pause it and read it if you want to. There's the Salton Buttes, but my eye is more drawn to these drill points for oil and gas. Producing steam, of course. The steam turbines that go from here to here around the volcano. And we spread down south. See where it says Calipatria, Verdant? We have more right here. These are all geothermal. They take them to the geothermal turbine nearby. We head on down towards the border. There's El Centro, California, and Calexico. And right down here at the border, we've got another solar farm and geothermal drilled into the volcano. Then they went crazy overdrive solar. Look at the solar they're doing here. This is all solar. Right? They stopped doing farming in Southern California and just switched over to solar, the whole thing. Like huge blocks where it used to be crops, now it's solar. Just miles and miles of it. There's the border with Mexico. And then on the Mexican side of the border, the Mexicans are doing the same thing that we do with the geothermal. Starting at Cerro Prieto volcano here. And on the inside of the volcano is that graffiti you guys have seen before, of course, if you're a viewer of mine. And here's all the steam. So they're extracting steam from the ground in Mexico to turn the geothermal turbines there. And that's where we taper off with the earthquakes. On the west side of Salton Sea, this is strictly fault zone movement, which I could say is almost the only fault zone movement that we have going on right now. The rest is going, maybe the creeping section too, up here just south of the Bay Area. But the rest of the locations are striking at volcanoes, drill points, or power plants. That's what we're seeing. What else did we miss? I didn't talk about Eastern California. On the east side of the valley over here, Yosemite Village, California. What would you do if I told you Yosemite is sandwiched between two supervolcanic features? And that's really what's made Yosemite what it is. Let's go look. Let me prove that to you. So I found this on my own. This is crazy, but I'll show it to you. No professional I know of has found this. So I'll toot my own horn over here. This is the known supervolcano called Long Valley Caldera. It's got 1,000,000 cubic kilometers of melt down below. Okay? Looks like an eyeball, doesn't it? Now, on the west side is Mammoth Mountain right here. It's a ski resort and known volcano. And on the back side of Mammoth Mountain are two small cinder cones, spatter cones. You see those? But look where we're going into now, right? We're going into the Yosemite area, right? There's the Sierra National Forest. Here's Yosemite Valley. Now, I said two supervolcanic features, right? So one is known about. It's over here. Professionals will all admit it. But the supervolcanic laccolith that matches it in size is on the other side of the mountain right here. And it's circular in shape. Here, let me turn off the names and borders and labels and everything. There we go. This thing is giant and circular. Coarse gold is on the north side of there if you want to know the location of California. This corresponds to the supervolcano across from it. One is a bulge in the plate. The other is a blast point that happened in the past. And in between them are volcanoes that connect over to the west side of Long Valley at Mammoth Mountain and the spatter cones. So it's just a matter of miles between the edge of the laccolith over here on this side and the supervolcano on this side. Let me measure. From the edge of the laccolith here, it's 30 miles to Mammoth Mountain itself, but we don't even have to go to Mammoth Mountain because on the backside of Mammoth, I already showed it to you 3 times, here are our spatter cones. 32 miles. That's just a hop, skip, and a jump, geophysically speaking, for a supervolcano. So I propose that this laccolith over here on this side of the valley is formed by the same feeder that comes up from below the mountain range. And that's what's made those jutting up features coming out of the mountains there, and that's why the mountains are there. Okay, let's carry on. It's just my own thing. You won't find any professional that ever agrees with me, even if I show a professional Yellowstone and say, this is Yellowstone Park, it's a supervolcano. People would disagree with me just because of who I am. So let's go over to the east and see if there's anything else that we need to talk about. Oh, okay, well there are a few more earthquakes to talk about. A 1.5 down here in South Nevada, a 1.5 and a 2.1 in Central Nevada, another 2.5 in Central Nevada. Which do we go for first? I guess let's go for the swarm, the little micro swarm here at Tonopah, Nevada. Copy, paste, and search. It's your friend if you want to find out what's going on. That's how you do it. So let's go look. This brings us in next to a famous earthquake location. Right here. You see these? These are the Goblin Knobs and the Lunar Craters. Now, the Lunar Craters are very impressive. You can travel here and actually go see this place. You have to have like a desert guide, so to speak, because look at it, right? It just goes on and on for miles and miles. Young lava flows out the sides of old buttes. And the Goblin Knobs south of here are just older versions. Here are the Goblin Knobs. But they're just older versions of the Lunar Craters. So the earthquake coming in next to it. Over to the west from there, we have Thunder Mountain and Black Buttes Volcanic Field. But we're much closer to the Lunar Craters and Goblin Knobs. But here's the Black Buttes Volcanic Field. Well, those are Black Buttes. To call it a volcanic field, I mean, it's an ancient volcanic field. I would think this would never erupt again. Okay, but there's weak points in the plate. And the weak points are why the wave is seeking out these points as opposed to some other points. For instance, see where it says Lizard Hills down here to the south? And you get in here and it says Obsidian Butte. There's nuke test sites that are also in this area very close to here, but far enough away that I wouldn't think that they're directly related. And I don't want to talk about the nuclear test stuff unless we actually have one in the nuke sites. Down here is where our nuke sites are. In case you don't know, The U.S. has hundreds of underground nuke test sites that are here. We also did surface test blasts down here where Frenchman's Flats are, and Operation Rise Line, and then all of these are all the recent nuclear tests that we've done, 1980s and 1990s, the Brits, the French, and the United States doing megaton blasts there, not just kilotons. So, big blast at the location next to here, but look how far away we are. We're far enough away that I would say, we're next to a bunch of old volcanoes. What's the culprit? Is it fractures in the plate from man doing nuclear tests there? Or is it from fractures in the plate from the volcano right next to it? I would lean towards the volcano. We're not doing any nuke tests out there now. I know that. It would be much bigger. Over to the west, onesie-twosies going back over to the supervolcano. Let's go look at the 2.5, Kingston, Nevada, and just see if there's anything there worth mentioning. I don't recall having to look anything up here before, so I have no idea what's here. Let's go look, see. Come along with me in a voyage of discovery. On a voyage of discovery. And we will discover things together. Well, okay, a salt flat. But next to the salt flat is a large quarry. Wow, look at the town there. This must be the quarry town. Right? The mine provides housing. Look at that. Wonder what they're getting out of the ground there. Well, maybe we can find out here. Hold on. Borders, labels, and places. Round Mountain. Well, it's not round anymore, is it? Round in the ground. Well, we're not telling us what's here. Wait. The Empire Cat Mine. No? Equipment supplier. They're giving us the equipment supplier out of there, but they're not telling us what's there? Okay. We have an entrance to the mine here. Let's go see what's going on. Jeez. Wow. Step pyramid. Round Mountain Mine. Wait. What do those look like to you guys? What do you think? Bars of copper or bars of gold? They getting gold out of the ground there? Round Mountain Mine. What the heck? Just in that tailing pile alone, you could retire a millionaire. It's got to be. They're bars of gold. The sign itself. Okay, no wonder it's not labeled on Google. You're going to tell everybody there's gold there? You're going to advertise it to the world? Gold mine. All right. I got a way of stepping in it deep right before the end of the broadcast. And I'm going to earn friends this way. They're going to love me at the gold mine for talking about that. Let's go down and look at the 1.7 down at Moapa Valley, Nevada. This is down next to or east of Las Vegas. Out to Vegas. Never been there. Never been to Vegas. People told me I need to go. I don't know. I don't know about all that. If you're from Vegas, give me a shout out in the chat. Tell me whether or not I should go or not. Okay, I don't gamble and I'm not into any of the party stuff. So, maybe I'll go out to the desert and go check out. Nevada would be a cool place to come check the rocks. Specifically for gold, if you know what I mean. Now that I know where to go. Okay, let's carry on, shall we? Don't go out there, guys. You get shot or bit. Oh, my God. Oh, no, of all the damn places, Gold Butte? Oh, dude, I said I was stepping in it. Do you guys remember? Let me tell you a little quick story here, kids. A few years ago, there was an uprising in the United States, or they tried to stage an uprising in the United States. I'm just not going to talk about politics. This is an Obama era. There was this guy named Bundy with the Bundy Ranch. You remember this? And he was supposedly taking his cattle out to graze in the back country and using Bureau of Land Management land by Gold Butte. Gold Butte, okay? Now this matters. This really matters. So Bunkerville is here, and you see there's not really much grazing to do out here. Do you see? Let's zoom in. So it's not the kind of grazing you would do with your cattle out here. But yet this guy is supposedly taking his cattle out in the back country to go graze. Well, I propose to you that the guy maybe was taking his cattle out there along with some equipment to manage them, and the equipment maybe was for some digging, you know what I mean? And that they were digging out some gold. And it's the same reason they wanted to build a giant solar farm and scrape out Gold Butte to build a solar farm out here. And one of the senators for Nevada had a plan to scrape out Gold Butte. You know, it's a perfect spot to build a solar farm out here. But they just wanted to do the Gold Butte area and scrape it out at the surface, just because for the solar, But anyway, there was a cattle guy that was going out there first with his cattle, And so the cattle guy got into it with the government. And that was the Bundy Ranch standoff. Anyway, earthquake there. A good old Gold Butte. I'll tell you what, man, that was a wild time to be alive. Imagine trying to report on it at the time when earthquakes were striking, right? Like, get on every list just by saying it. Okay, internationally, what do we have going on? Let's just quickly wrap this up for the rest of the world. You're probably pretty bored because I'm only talking about the United States today. Hawaii got hit. If you're somewhat international, Hawaii started to move down here east of Kilauea, more like back where Pu'u'o'o was doing its lava flows. So Pu'u'o'o started to move. I would just watch it out, just in case. Never know. I mean, we saw Pu'u'o'o suddenly rip open back in 2011. Super impressive. Just out of nowhere. It was unexpected. They were not expecting that. And when it went in the week before the Japan megaquake. So March of 2011, suddenly Pu'u'o'o ripped open. Huge lava flow came out. And then a few days later, at the end of the week, that's when Hawaii was preceded the big earthquake here in Japan. So I would keep an eye on Pu'u'o'o, just in case. And then internationally from there, it's all fives. It's 5 across the West Pacific, equidistantly spaced, going from our deep earthquake location at Fiji, back across all the way over to our big earthquake locations from last week. They are still aftershocking with 5s. The only change on this is a 4.5 and a 5.5 struck in Australia this past week. Now, here we are, we're at Canowindra. Sorry. I can't do it. I'm not going to even try and impersonate your accent. A dumb bogan like me shouldn't even be speaking to you right now. You're all much more intelligent and well off than I am. Let's just show you where the earthquake is and move on. So 4.5 earthquake striking down here is nothing to scoff at. It's east of a series of old mines. West of a series of old mines and east of a series of surface pit quarries. So surface pit quarries, old mines, we're on the edge of one of your cratons on the southeast, but I need to take you back to the start of this week when a rare 5.5 earthquake struck out here, right about here, and you see my place mark just north. We have Uluru, Ayers Rock, the famous rock that they show, or the famous mountain that they show, and all the Australian tourism stuff. People go out there and go check it out, but most people don't know that there's other Ayers rocks that are similar in size and shape and scope. They're huge. They are jutting up rock features that come up out of the center of the plate where folds and bends exist that have been weathered away over time. So Uluru, Ayers Rock, is really just in the middle of the plate, and the middle of the plate moved first with a 5.5. Now 4s are striking down to the east-southeast. I would also expect something like a swarm down by Perth in the west-southwest, and maybe even by the end of the next 7-day time period, up here by Exmouth, up here by the VLF transmission station. Look at this thing. Looks like my logo, right? And a few other things. But I'll tell you what, this is for low frequency. They've stretched cables across here. They have these large towers, and they connect the towers with cables. This generates low frequency. This is the Harold E. Holt Communication VLF transmission station used to communicate with submarines and other things around the world that use low frequency to communicate, mainly for the military. So I hope this update kind of brings you up to speed as to what's been going on. My last update, now over 11 days ago, most of the locations were struck. We were looking for 6.5s to go out. We saw 6s go out. Then it dropped down to 5.5s. Australia got hit. We checked off several other locations. So if you were keeping track of several of the locations we were looking for, we're hit. It's actually pretty quick, the first few days. Anything else worth mentioning? How about over in Europe? Really quick, over in Europe, multiple fours striking down south of Greece, west of Greece, south of Turkey, and in the Caspian Sea. Noticeably, very little seismic activity is being reported out of Iran. Now, that could just be due to actual seismic activity not being there, or it could be that they're not reporting all the earthquakes out of the location because of the amount of explosions and other things that are going on. I've noticed there have been no big explosions reported at all out of Iran. So that's interesting, right? When we're, getting big explosions. When Kim Jong-un detonated his nukes over here in North Korea, we had that get reported to us as a 5. So, yeah. Oh. Wow. That's loud. We got some kind of military jet flying over the house right now. While I got you on here, might as well show you how to check if you ever hear anything flying over. Here's how you check, guys. You can go to Flight Radar or ADS-B Exchange. Let's go over to the ADS-B Exchange. See where we are here, what we got going on. Man, that's loud. We got going on here. Got American Airlines. Got a chopper. That's it. They got their transponders off, boys. Uh-oh, somebody means business. Here we go. Transponders off. Huge roar in the sky, guys. Wow. Wow. I don't know if you can hear that. That's straight up bombers. We got bombers in the skies, guys. And transponders are off. Oh, Well, maybe I'll hold off on releasing this video till later on. I'm going to block that. Okay. Maybe I'll hold off on releasing this. Don't want to give away any secrets. But then again, everybody else in the entire country will hear that as it flies over. My goodness gracious. Still can hear it. Man, that's roaring. Now, in case you don't know, Missouri is the place where they launched the nuclear bombers from. So over in western Missouri, they launch bombers from western Missouri. Then they fly east. So they'll launch from over here next to Kansas City in western Missouri. And they'll fly east. But with transponders off, dude, good luck tracking them. Transponders means on a mission. Transponders off, means on a mission. So, you know what? Let me just remind everybody. It's probably a good time to have a plan and be prepared for all sorts of things. Earthquakes, fires, floods, natural disasters of all kinds, and man-made disasters, like what I just heard flying overhead. Now, I don't know how you could prepare for a big blast of some kind, but I could tell you probably want change of clothes, set of shoes, flashlights, batteries, first aid kits, sanitation, food and water to last a few days. The good old be prepared thing. I don't know. In this day and age, do you even want to prepare for that? Wouldn't it be better not to survive? I don't know. I'll probably want some coffee. I know I'll probably have neighbors down the road who want to barter for cigarettes and other things, other smokable things. Damn hippies. But you probably want to have a little bit of all that on hand, just to be prepared, just in case. And worst case scenario, you never have to use it. But food and water, probably something good to have. The change of clothes and set of shoes, you already got it. Might as well put it into a bag, have it ready to go, just in case. Extra ID. If you have extra cash, who the hell has extra cash these days? Only rich people. Well, you rich scum. Sorry, I'm getting off script here. Yeah, put some money aside for us, will you? What good is money going to be? You'd be better off putting it into other things. Like I said, cigarettes or other things that you can smoke. Because who's going to want money when it's all hitting the fan? Okay. Much love to all you guys. I'm going to release this as a video over on YouTube. I've just recorded this live before an audience on Twitch. I don't know how many people are in there right now, but I'm sure there's probably the regular 50 people and probably another 50 people that are watching on top of that over on Twitch. We've got a very tight-knit crew that watches earthquakes 24/7 without any big earthquakes, right? You got to really be into earthquakes to watch the globe spin 24/7 and watch for earthquakes to happen. It's kind of like waiting for the weather to develop or for the grass to grow. You have to really be into it. So I understand most of you don't like watching live earthquake streams. but I do record when there's something serious going on or something significant going on. And in this case, 5.7 out west, let's just call it a near 6, out next to the volcanoes out on the west coast, Nevada, and a 4.0 on the east coast in the same day. Swarms in between. Man, I'm in between. I'm on the New Madrid seismic zone. So of course I'm going to get on here and tell you it's going on. And if anything big develops, I'll be back on at a moment's notice. Now you may notice I have not done a forecast at all in this video. The only forecast I would issue on this video is for myself, which is on the New Madrid seismic zone to be on watch for a mid-range 3 and a swarm. But a mid-range 3 and a swarm on the New Madrid isn't that big of a deal, knock on wood, because it looks like the wave is going all the way over to the East Coast right now, which is good news. Because if the wave goes over to the East Coast, it reflects back into itself. It could go larger than a 4, but I would think it's going to spread like the rest of it, and we'll get a swarm on the New Madrid. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm here in the middle of the whole mess. So if a big earthquake hits on the New Madrid, okay, I'm eating my own words. But otherwise, no forecast for right now. We're going to wait and issue a new forecast on a separate video in the next day. So if you're looking for a forecast, I'll be back tomorrow with a new forecast for the whole planet, including the United States. But as it looks right now, knock on wood again, that it looks like it's going to be 3s going across the plate over into our neck of the woods in the United States. Okay, word up, much love. Look out for this over on YouTube in just a moment. And before I sign off, let me ask everybody, if you're new here and you've made it through this far, please subscribe to whatever channel you're listening to right now. You don't have to pay. Just click the like button or click the membership button, whatever. I don't even know what they call it on YouTube anymore. Is it just the subscribe button still? And then there's a paid membership thing on YouTube. And on Twitch, I think it's becoming a member or a subscriber. Either way, do it and you'll get updates from me when something big is going on. Okay? Peace out. Word up.